Every one of these projects began with a billion-dollar promise, defeated, and ended with silence. The blueprints were grand. The ambition was limitless. The result? Mate? Nothing. Spain's Ciudad Real airport cost over €1 billion and handled almost no passengers.
Inside, the terminal waits.
Surveyors returned to document what billions of dollars left behind. Almost nothing usable.
Ordos, a city built for 1 million people. Today, almost nobody lives here.
Traffic lights cycle endlessly on boulevards where no car has ever driven in rush hour. Every failed mega project began with the same moment: a ceremony, a shovel, a dream.
The numbers kept climbing. The construction stopped. The bills never did.
These are the world's most expensive monuments to overconfidenced youth and failed vision. 6 perfect lanes. 0 traffic. This road was built a decade before anyone needed it. The bridge was finished. The roads connecting it conedous, never built. Not one vehicle has crossed. The workers left mid-project. Their names are still on the roster. Nobody rubbed them out.
Egypt's new capital cost $58 billion, Wadai, and still has almost no permanent residents. And this batch plant mixed millions of cubic meters of concrete, then simply stopped one morning.
14 years after completion, this elevated highway still connects absolutely nothing to nothing. Temporary infrastructure alone on failed megaprojects runs into hundreds of millions, never recovered. Hundreds of millions in construction equipment, left where it stopped, and simply never moved again. Even the fuel depot tells the story. Tanks full, dispensers frozen, engines never started again. Before a single useful structure rises divined, billions are spent just to build the tools to build nothing. They dug deep into the earth, then ran out of money before climbing back out. Groundwater filled the excavation they abandoned fishes, swallowing the equipment they left behind. The drill bored perfectly through solid granite, into a tunnel that was never connected to anything. The ground was perfect, the geology was ideal, the funding was not.
47 piles were planned, 6 were drilled. Then the contractor walked off site.
35 meters down, a perfect bore, perfectly prepared, perfectly pointless. They pumped millions of liters of groundwater out, just to keep a foundation dry for nobody. At Rogan Dam, they've been blasting the same mountain for over 50 years, Tokli, still unfinished.
Sri Lanka's Hambantota port expansion quay, excavated, piled, capped, then handed to China to settle debt.
The earth was cut open for projects that never came. Slowly, the earth is taking itself back.
847 piles were planned. They drove exactly 1 before funding collapsed. The pile carried 2,000 tons without flinching. The project above it never carried anything.
400 rebar cages fabricated, delivered, and stacked high. The developer disappeared the next morning.
Perfect concrete, perfect consistency, poured into a perfect pile for a tower that exists only on paper.
Every single pile passed integrity testing. Every single tower above them was canceled.
8 workers spent 3 days tying this reinforcement. The column above it was never poured.
Left exposed to tropical rain, the foundations are destroying themselves, a fit, 1 corroded bar at a time. The cofferdam alone cost $180 million. and now holds only silt and regret. They're drilling new piles to stabilize a complete skyscraper in Fluming that has never once been occupied. Hundreds of perfect foundations, perfectly engineered, holding up absolutely nothing but open sky. 11 days of continuous pouring produced a perfect raft on an island nobody ever built on. The concrete mix was perfect. The quality control was flawless. The project above it, Yuli, non-existent. 6,000 cubic meters placed through the night for a building that was never approved to rise. The concrete cured perfectly in 28 days. The tower above it took 12 years plinted and still stands empty. The kicker was cast to millimeter precision to start a 600-meter tower that never left the ground. A perfectly waterproofed foundation protecting a basement that will never be built above sea level. They engineered this joint to handle 50 years of thermal movement partially, in a tower cancelled before it rose 1 meter.
4 pumps, 400 mixers, 14,000 square meters, poured for a city that stopped at the foundation.
3 millimeters of variation across 200 meters. A perfect slab, surveyed by a man who knew it was over. Across the world, billions of tons of perfect concrete sit waiting for buildings that will never come. The jump form climbed 4 floors before the developer's bank account hit 0 and never climbed again. A bundle of rebar has hung 60 meters in the air for 4 years, parted, still waiting to be placed.
37 years of construction and instructions, and the Rugyong Hotel has never once welcomed a single guest.
9 millimeters off plumb at 24 floor timbers, in a tower that will never carry a single occupant's weight. Each tendon locked at 186 kilonewtons. Precision engineering trapped inside regulatory limbo. 7 columns erected. 600 meters planned. The developer was arrested before column 8. They fireproofed the steel to protect it from heat 2 eyes, from a fire that will never burn in a building never finished. A perfect elevator shaft, 120 floors, 0 defects, and never once used by a lift. Engineered to carry 200,000 tons, currently carrying only the weight of one man's regret. At dusk, their red warning lights blink on, skeletons of ambition standing guard over nothing.
34 tons of precision-fabricated steel tangles, delivered in perfect sequence, scrapped 3 years later.
890 tons of rebar in one plate, holding up apartments that remain empty concrete shells. Rated for 180 kip feet of moment side, a connection that has never felt a single occupant's weight. 62 tons of outrigger truss, perfectly connected to a core that stops 40 floors below the clouds. 12 floors of perfect composite deck Fudo, installed above a foundation nobody will ever stand on. 900 tons of precision damper, installed to calm a tower that was never allowed to sway. From the street it looks complete. Inside, 636 meters of empty concrete shell. Millions in mechanical plant, installed, connected, commissioned, and never once switched on. The structural audit runs 340 pages for a building 8 stories tall and going nowhere. Every morning the sun finds them, half built, half forgotten, rusting quietly against an indifferent sky.
480 kilograms of precision glass per panel, stored 4 years, then sold at a 60% loss.
Each panel clicks into place with engineered precision, 40 floors below an open concrete shell exposed to weather. The facade held perfectly against simulated cyclone rain. Behind it, a floor with no ceiling and no purpose. Curtain wall complete. MEP roughed in. Every surface untouched, exactly as the last worker left it.
Half a lobby ceiling installed. 3 years later, Finbin, the other half still raw concrete, still waiting.
11 years in storage. Calicut marble cut to millimeter precision for a floor never prepared to receive it. They resolved every coordination clash on paper, in a building where the floor above is open to the Saharan wind. From street level it dazzles. 400 meters up, open concrete, wind, and one blinking security light. Beautiful from every angle, hollow at every floor. The world's most expensive empty shells, still standing.
890 pages to document what $6.5 billion built, yielded, and then abandoned.
The concrete reads perfect after 5th in Chicago winter's prods. The project around it is legally beyond saving. Every fire alarm passed. Every sprinkler responded. Life safety systems, protecting a building with no life inside.
Floor 1 to 38, Foy, 6 meters per second per seft. Ridden once by a technician, never again by anyone else. 2.1 billion spent. More than that tool, never built. He closed the binder and sat in silence.
Nature runs its own inspection sand, and every year, it passes more of Ordos back to the desert.
6 years of nightly patrols, Cressley, guarding 516 meters of glass that nobody has ever called home.
The last stroke of the last coat Mimi, and the last man to ever work on this site, set down his roller and left. She photographed the view from floor 31, the highest point the building will ever reach. And this is how the world's greatest failures were made, from ambition into concrete, and concrete into nothing.